Well, not to sound ominous, but time is running out for humanity to save the Earth. The next 2 years are crucial to tackle the challenge of climate crisis. These are the words of United Nations Climate Chief Simon Stiell. He says urgent steps are needed to deal with the rising temperature, and boosting climate finance must be at the heart of solution. Here's a detailed report on this.
Clock is ticking, and with each passing day, humanity is losing out on an opportunity to save the Earth. Extreme climate events and irregular weather patterns have become common. From food to health to economy, the spectre of climate change has cast a shadow on every aspect of life. And now, humanity has just 2 years left to avert the crisis. Next 24 months are crucial to prevent the worst.
So when I say we have 2 years to save the world, it begs the question, who exactly has 2 years to save the world? The answer is every person on this planet.
Greenhouse gas emissions need to be slashed by half by 2030 to limit the rise of temperatures beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius. Current commitments are not enough to achieve the goal. Will is needed, and so is action. National climate plans need to be modified, and more funding needs to be allocated. A major shift is needed towards a more cleaner and resilient future. But with election fever running high around the globe, climate action is slipping down the political agenda, warns the United Nations Climate Chief Simon Stiell. Leaders are neglecting the issue of climate finance, which could prove to be a silver bullet in addressing the climate crisis. Stiell has called for debt relief for the most vulnerable countries, as they seem to be spending $400 billion on debt financing when they could prepare and prevent future climate change. Even though each step counts and each action is required, the task at hand requires a collective effort. Governments, developmental banks, and developmental institutions need to take the lead. Financial aid needs to replace loans. And G20, the countries responsible for 80% of the world's heat-trapping emissions, must play a major role.
Everyday finance ministers, CEOs, investors, and climate bankers and development bankers direct trillions of dollars. It's time to shift those dollars from the energy and infrastructure of the past towards that of a cleaner, more resilient future.
Last year proved to be the hottest on record. This year has 1 in 3 chances to break that record. Reports say levels of carbon dioxide and methane in the air last year hit all-time high. Sea level rise is off the charts, and Antarctic sea ice is at a record low. All this does not point towards a promising future. Every step from now on must take that information into account. Remember, we only have one world, and the time to act is now. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Meanwhile, Russia has said that the situation is very tense as floodwaters continue to rise in the city of Orenburg and surrounding areas. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov has warned that large amounts of water are coming to new regions. The flooding is the worst to hit the region in over 70 years. According to reports, water levels in the Ural River near Orenburg rose to over 100 meters, well above its bursting point. Last week, several rivers, including the Ural, burst their banks after rapidly melting snow and ice caused them to swell. Over 1,000 people had to flee their homes in southern Russia and in neighboring Kazakhstan.
Больше 1,5 метров уже, то есть вода зашла уже во все дома.
Earlier this week, people in the city of Orsk gathered in a rare protest, calling for compensation after their homes were damaged. Hundreds of people gathered in front of the administrative building. Videos posted on social media showed people chanting, "Putin, help us," and "Shame on you" at local officials. The Kremlin has said that President Vladimir Putin does not intend to visit the flood zone. Kazakhstan has started to blow up artificial dams built by locals to lower water levels in flooded areas. Agricultural workers had installed these dams to collect water for farming and agriculture. Elsewhere, local authorities have been working to prevent flooding from spreading to other areas. Over 7,500 people, including the military, have been building temporary barriers and filling sandbags. More than 3,000 houses are still flooded. Storms have caused severe flooding across the U.S. state of Texas. The National Weather Service has warned Texans of hail and strong, damaging wind. Local police have closed multiple roads due to floods. Take a look. In Canada, officials have warned that the country is prone to another catastrophic wildfire season due to the unusually warm winter, widespread drought conditions and a forecast of above normal temperatures in the months ahead. Last year, Canada endured its worst ever fire season with more than 6,600 blazes burning 15 million hectares. Wildfire killed 8 firefighters and 230,000 people were evacuated from their homes. This winter, the country experienced warmer than normal temperatures and widespread drought, setting a stage for another punishing summer. Federal ministers warned that climate change was contributing to more extreme weather events, including wildfires, drought and heat waves.
Now, it is impossible to predict with certainty that the summer that lies ahead of us. But what is clear is that wildfires will represent a significant challenge for Canada into the future as the impacts of climate change continue to intensify. And the cost to Canadians are also growing every single year.
Wildfires put a strain on its resources. The country deployed 505,000 international firefighters from South Africa, Spain and 2,135 armed forces members to help tackle the blazes. Not only this, according to a government analysis, severe weather caused over $3.1 billion, Canadian dollar in fact, in insured damages in 2023. Well, conservationists are worried about an emerging threat to Kenyan elephants, licensed hunters across the border in Tanzania. Kenyan officials are now urging Tanzania to restrict trophy hunters to its heartland after 3 of the elephants were shot across the border in recent months. Here's a report.
Licensed hunters across the border in Tanzania are an emerging threat for elephants in Kenya's Amboseli Wildlife Park. The 2 East African neighbours manage the herds differently. Tanzania issues some trophy hunting license to wealthy sport hunters every year, while Kenya gets all its revenue from wildlife safaris. Kenya has zero tolerance for wildlife hunting or the sale of ivory. Conservationists and Kenyan officials are now urging Tanzania to restrict trophy hunters to protect Kenyan elephants after 3 of them were shot across the border in recent months. Joseph Ole Lenku is the governor of Kenya's Kajiado County, which relies on tourism.
There must be provision to support this conservation so that the trophy hunting in Tanzania is allowed in their heartland, not in areas bordering Kenya, because that will interfere with our conservation in Kenya. Tanzania will understand our plea to say it is not right to license trophy hunting near the border with Kenya.
Last September, a Kenyan elephant with tusks that weighed 110 pounds each was shot by licensed hunters some 14 miles inside the border with Tanzania, according to conservationists. Wildlife campaigners said after the first Kenyan elephant was gunned down in September, 2 more have been shot. Conservationists added that the killed elephants all belong to the group known as super tuskers due to their large tusks. The killings broke an unofficial moratorium on hunting elephants near the Kenyan border. Richard Bonham is the co-founder and executive chairman of the conservation group Big Life Foundation in Kenya.
The Amboseli sort of bloodline of tuskers is probably one of the best in the world. So from a genetics perspective, it's really important. And then you come to the tourism side. They're hugely valuable. We have a lot of visitors coming into Amboseli just to see those big tuskers. And these hunters who came in, they didn't even consult the local people if they could shoot there. They just came with the permits and they've now shot 3.
The conservationists say they now want Tanzania to reinstate the trophy hunting moratorium, reinforcing it with more defined terms on land within 20 miles of the Kenyan frontier. Tanzania charges a fee of $10,000 to $20,000 for a license to hunt an elephant trophy. The money is split between the government and the community if the trophy is hunted in conservation areas run by local groups. Conservationists said they were not calling for a hunting ban in all of Tanzania, but for protection of precious Kenyan tuskers that wander back and forth across the border.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.